Hey everyone, Chris Berryman here, coalition builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. Welcome to another of our great Bringing Humanity Together live streams. This is one of the three open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella where people can discuss topics related to the workplace and humanity in the workplace in a very positive and constructive way. We want to know what are the issues are out there. There are people that are facing because it is our goal to both work with employers and employees to bring humanity back into the workforce. And as always, we'll always be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 3 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Feel free to invite your friends, coworkers, families, and we would love to have them to be a part of the conversation on all our events. And even share the replay when you can, and use the hashtag replay when you share it. Today, me and Carla are going to host this conversation today for sharing care with Sandy because Sandy's not here today. She's got some things that she's got to take care of. So we're wishing her well on her day off today and everything. Just remember, every Tuesday is Sharing Care with Sandy. Every Wednesday is Conversation for Humanity. Every Thursday is Humanity Happy Hour. And the only difference on Conversation for Humanity is we start at 2:45 versus 3. And as you jump on, feel free to comment, whether to be on LinkedIn Live, on YouTube, or Twitter, or Facebook business page. We would love to hear from you and everything like that. And let us know where you're watching from. And like I said, if you're watching the replay, just be sure to comment in whatever platform you're watching, hashtag replay, and comment, put questions out there, and let us know where you're watching from. And we would love to have that great and engaging conversation with you. Just to let everybody know, we can have up to 10 people out on the live stream at any one time. So if you want to join, I'll put the link into the LinkedIn Live, and I'll post it up here on the live stream here shortly. So, Carla, how are you doing today on Terrific Tuesday?
I'm good. It's 70 something degrees here in Atlanta. It's raining. It's almost like a fall day.
It's 90 degrees here in Florida. It's 90.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, hot 90 and sticky.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've had rain just about every day for the past 3 or 4 days, I guess. And today has been raining like on and off all day. It's been kind of crazy. I got my long sleeves on. It's really weird. It's really strange, but that's okay. We need it. The grass needs it. So.
Yes. So what do we want to bring to the table of humanity today, Carla? What would you like to talk about?
Well, I really like that article that Lisa posted on working from home and Google and their ideas of working from home. I was really surprised to see, we had a whole lot of people that left the workforce last fall because kids were home and from school and they needed supervision at home, and lots of times that fell on whoever it was. It was usually the mom. So they had 8 million women left the workforce last fall. And
wow.
And then now that the people are, the world's opening up and companies are starting to open up, they're like, okay, we're all going to come back to the office. And there's a lot of people that are kicking and screaming on that one.
Well, here's the actual post that's from CNBC. And it basically is titled, "Why Working from Home is Here to Stay." And here's the video, and here's just a little clip from this, because it's like a 9-minute clip. So we'll just play a little bit of it.
Yeah, that was good. I was cooking lunch or putting dinner in the crock pot at the same time. So.
Is that the Credit One Bank Platinum Rewards card? Yeah. For your bounty, I bestow a gift.
Great. Get 5% cashback rewards. Visit gocreditone.com. My personal belief is that this is a sea change. There is no going back to status quo. If one company tries, they're going to be met with 10 others that have maintained the experiment. So I think we've turned a corner.
When I fled the office in March 2020, I left a half-empty coffee cup on my desk like a slob, and I left my gym bag under my chair. I remember thinking, who knows what's next, but I'll come back to that later. Turns out I would have to buy new running shoes. This past year flipped all of our lives upside down, and now that vaccinations are proving to be incredibly effective, they're flipping upside down once more. These days, I know how to quarantine, how to wear a mask, how to socially distance, and how to work from home during a global pandemic. But experts say that we failed to face the pandemic head-on and will now need to live with the coronavirus being internally endemic, which means that with many companies, mine included, bringing workers back to the office this fall, I now need to learn how to work from the office during a global pandemic. In April 2020, 70% of Americans were working remotely, according to Gallup. Today, that share is closer to 56%, even though 61% say they prefer to be working from home. And now workers are quitting their jobs at the highest rates in 20 years. In fact, it's the highest rate ever reported by the BLS. 4 million people quit their jobs in April 2021 alone. My name is Abigail Johnson-Hess. You all can call me AJ. I'm a multimedia reporter for CNBC Naked. And this is What's Next. If anyone can tell us about the future of work, it's Brian Well, Google's Vice President of People Analytics, and Amy Webb. Amy is the founder of the Future Today Institute. She is also a professor of strategic foresight at NYU Stern School of Business and a visiting fellow at Oxford University's Said School of Business. She's a quantitative futurist, which means she uses data to build models to find emerging trends and then uses that info to find plausible outcomes. So I wanted to talk to get her take to see if the changes the pandemic made on work culture would actually stick. Hey there. How's it going? It's going well. How are you doing? I recently moved, but I'm currently thinking about whether or not I should unpack my formal wear for work. My boss is preparing me to come back to the office. I feel like I have to relearn how to do that all over again. This has been on a lot of people's minds. What does the future of the office look like? What does that footprint look like? Where is it? What's the work from home configuration for teams? And how do we manage our re-entry into the world of the physical and the living? A lot of companies that are allowing hybrid work aren't allowing people to work from home Monday and Friday. So what does that tell us about the future of transit? It means Tuesday through Thursday is going to be hell for anybody who's trying to commute with a car. And what does that mean? Well, that's a signal for local cities, administrations who could right now be adjusting what those traffic patterns look like, but we know they're not doing that, right? So I think we're looking for there's going to be gridlock in ways that we just haven't seen before and haven't anticipated. But the changes to the way we work are much deeper than how many days we go into the office or what rush hour looks like. I do think one of the outcomes of COVID is a lot more people working in fractional roles. So this is somebody who might work for 4 companies or 5 companies, giving each one 10 hours a week. And our work relationships will also change. We are all going to have to relearn how to socialize and get along with one another, which unfortunately could lead to more conflicts in the office. I'm not comfortable predicting what the future of work is totally going to look like. I am absolutely comfortable predicting the prevalence of more and more viruses in our lives, right? What are we going to do? Are we going to keep having this debate and this discussion about vaccines? The answer is yes. And in this country, we're going to wind up with a bifurcation.
So that's just a little bit of what CNBC did on that, and that was a great article that you found, Lisa. What did you glean from that when you actually researched and you saw that? What was one of the first takes that you had in your mind?
Well, for me, it was basically that things are changing again. Obviously, the pandemic has made some changes that are going to stick, but I think it's kind of changing from that. In that, I think the hybrid model is going to be the way to go. I think people are wanting that change, and I think the companies that really care are going to look into what their employees really want to do.
What's your thoughts on it, Carla?
Well, one thing that really made me go, huh? When I was listening to that is when they were talking about people have to learn how to get along again. What have you been doing for the past 18 months? Fighting like cats and dogs? You know, we still have communication. Just because we're working from home doesn't mean that we're not in communication with other people that we work with. And why do you
Yeah.
have to learn how to get along?
Yeah, that struck me as funny too, but I think maybe what they meant was you have to figure out how to get along next to each other again because it's been so work from home. You're still conversing and communicating, but yeah, I thought that was kind of funny too.
Well, for me,
Why do they feel so compelled to drag everybody back to an office? If they're getting the same work out of people, they're getting the same results, if not better.
Yeah, I think what it is that, the whole model of work and whatnot, it's those companies that they just don't know how to change, and they think that they have to have people at work, as my guess. I don't really know. Obviously, there are some positions that can't be done,
Right.
from home. You've got your hospitals, your clinics, your certain jobs can't be done from home, but some people in certain positions are going to say, well, we just need to get back to the way things used to be, and so they're not going to want to change going forward because now we can get back to the way we used to do things.
Well, the funny
Is
thing
my guess.
about that, when I think about that, is my son is in IT and project management and IT management, all this other kind of stuff. I ran into, there was a clip, I can't even remember where it was I saw it, but they were talking about how the work from home trend has really gotten big with the tech industry because they realized that through the pandemic, the tech world is what saved a lot of companies and brought into, when my son started at his company, they didn't have nearly the remote capabilities that they have now. And now got it to where he can log in anywhere and literally take care of anything remotely.
Right.
And so
I know that
companies that are doing that, and then so they've had a huge increase in remote working because they've seen that it works.
Right. And I think some companies like my brother-in-law works for Chrysler, and they're moving to a hybrid model. So they're basically going to have workstations available. So their hybrid model is they're going to have workstations available. You work from home unless you need to collaborate or you feel more comfortable coming in to collaborate rather than remotely. You have an office space to do it from. That's going to be kind of towards the end of the year, I think, or maybe the beginning of next year is when they're going to do that. And then it's kind of like a pilot. They're going to see how it goes and take it from there.
So how come you can't just continue to collaborate remotely?
Well, I don't know why you couldn't, and it sounds like they're just making it an option for those that want to collaborate in person. And so for those that are comfortable, maybe they're doing it this way. Again, I think they're doing it more of a let's see how this goes. And it's not so much of the work model. I think part of them is worried, get everybody together, then we might have an uptick in cases. And so they're going to do this and see how it goes kind of thing is what it sounds like from what I gather. But I don't work there, so I can't say, I don't know the exact details other than what he said. And so it sounds like based on what he told me is this is how they're going to do it. And it's more of like a pilot program to see how it goes. So it sounds like, they want to stay remote, but they're maybe they have some feedback from people that say, I'd rather be in the office. So they're trying to make it work for everyone, maybe.
Well, see, ladies, this is what I was just mentioning this to Carla before we got on air. Is for me, we as leaders in organizations today, moving forward, I truly believe if we give people the option to choose which way they choose to go, let that be on them and them alone. We can't choose that for them. If we give them the option and the path to say, hey, if you want to work at the office, great, fine, no problem. If you want to work from home, great, fine, no worries there. But give people the options. And I like what you said to me, Carla, earlier before we got started. What was your take when it came to control?
Well, I think that if people are doing their job and they're reaching their goals, whatever their goals are, getting a project done, finishing your work on time, contacting X number of people out, just depending on what the job is and what the job requirements are. If you shouldn't really have to micromanage them and let them do their job. And if you've got people that aren't meeting expectations and you're having to micromanage them and you can't trust them, why are you paying them?
Exactly. That's a great
build
point.
a team of people that work well together, are productive, and they're all moving in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it time and time again. Why do you keep these people on the payroll? I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. And a lot of times it's in, if you look at the HR side of things, obviously you can't let someone go unless you have documented proof of they're not meeting their expectations. And sometimes managers don't want to document. And so you got to say, hey, we're not, as an HR professional, we're not getting rid of someone you don't have documented performance issues on, because then we're going to have to try to say, yeah, no, we're not just letting them go because they're over 50 or whatever the case is, so you got to watch those things. Yes, we do have here in Michigan, we have an employment at will doctrine that allows you to let someone go for no reason. But you have to be willing to, if you have no documented performance issues, then you have to be willing to, look at the possibility that you could be sued. And if you have no proof otherwise, no documented performance issues. So sometimes people do enough to get by, and that makes it difficult for an employer to let them go. Now, if you train your managers well and they do what they're supposed to do as far as documenting things, as far as not meeting their goals and not, whatever, then it's a different story. But those are things that keep people in payrolls when others are saying, well, why, that doesn't make sense. But you also have to have a culture of, let's focus on, you don't need to be micromanaged if you're doing your job. Here are the expectations. You're meeting the expectations. And if you're not meeting the expectations, then there needs to be documented proof of that so that you can move forward. And I would gather that in a remote situation, certain jobs are harder to see, what are they doing, what they're supposed to be doing. And so that's why some managers or leaders of companies probably want people at the office. It's easier to evaluate. Now, to me, that's not the right reasons, but you, like you said, Carla, you want to make sure you have the right people for the job and the right people for the team. So as long as you have those individuals in place, you shouldn't need to worry about, are they getting their job done, because everyone's going to be marching to the same drum and, moving towards the same direction, if you will, and getting things done to make the company successful.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. And see, for me, it goes right back into to leadership. Leadership is downstream of culture, environment, everything. And once leadership recognizes that, and then once people are willing to work with leadership and leadership vice versa with the partners, I won't say employees because I don't believe in employees anymore. I believe in the word partnerships because I think that goes much further when it comes to the human development factor. Uh, because for me, once we, like I said, get both sides really truly working together, the environment will start to grow and thrive for what's there versus what's not there. And we give, like I said, we give people the autonomy to choose their path. It's not for me to decide which way Carla wants to go. It's not my choice to see which way Lisa goes. It's my job as a leader to at least acknowledge which path you so have chosen and be that guide with you on that journey. And if we can create that environment, like I said, that it goes right back to our mission statement. If I help you, you help me, then we help we. That's going to create more of an environment where people can truly grow and thrive in, and they feel like they're a part of something bigger, even if they're at home. Why can't we just do something better, something different? It don't have to go by the same old, same old. That's why it's called different.
Exactly. And therein lies why don't we as a company or as companies in general, why do we not spend more time developing our people and developing our leaders so that that culture, that organization, that environment is there? And so I know we've talked about it before and it's a timing thing, but if we want people to be successful, we need to develop them in the ways that we need them to be successful, and that also helps them in their journey as well. So if you have someone who wants to be a leader and they have some of the skills, and why not train them and mentor them and get them to where they need to be so that they can be successful, so then they can in turn train and develop their people so that they don't have to micromanage or whatever the case is. And so it's just a trickle down effect. And so, bringing the right people on, giving them the development that they need, it all helps build that environment that we want, that everybody needs, right?
Yeah. It feels great when you have a team that's all working together and rowing in the same direction, and your goals are being met and everybody's happy and things are clicking right along. That is just an unforgettable feeling. And a lot of people don't have that feeling because they don't have that team.
Well, so many times the focus isn't so much on the team development or the team environment, and it's it can be a cutthroat environment of this is what we need to do and let's get it done, and there's really nothing else that matters. And so trying to change that philosophy and that theory and get people to understand and see the difference so that they can bring it into their organizations so that is the challenge, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I believe in companies today.
Did we lose him?
He's frozen. I thought he was deep in thought.
So did I. Chris, if you can hear us, you're froze.
We're still live. So let's figure out what he was thinking. He'll jump back on. There he is.
Well, the internet just decided to do something weird.
So take us back to what you were saying.
What was that thought? That you were deep in thought.
Well, like I was trying to say, I truly believe that if we can create, like I said, people in organizations to become more aware of the environment that we're in, the environment of the very partners that they are actually, like I say, working with those organizations, if we can foster that environment, I truly believe that we can move things forward and just really, like I said, get that kind of environment fostered. Because if we allow ourselves as leaders to just open up basically a new door, can we let others go through that very door with us or us with them?
Mm-hmm. I agree. And that's in, one person at a time, and eventually the focus will be there. And mhm.
And you guys are still frozen on my end. I don't know what it is, but
Mm,
Where did I go? There we go.
well, it shows frozen on my end, so I don't know what's going on.
Oh well.
hmm.
Well, we're still live, and I'm not frozen.
I'm not frozen on my end,
Let
but
it go. Let it go. That's the most I'm going to sing.
Yeah, really.
One of the things that they pointed out was the impact on the infrastructure and the roads. That if they have all these people going back to the work, mandatory going back to work on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays.
mhm.
They were talking about, the rush hours and the traffic and all that stuff. But I find it interesting that they said, yeah, they should be looking at the infrastructure now, but they probably aren't. It reminded me of there's a mall a couple exits down from me, and there's only a really like two entrances and two exits, and one entrance on the freeway. And so, Sunday afternoons is crazy. The holidays are crazy. And it took them a good 10 years before they even started developing another exit up at the next bridge to take some traffic off of the mall entrance. So
Right.
they don't think about that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I mean,
Right. Well,
we're going back to the way that it was in January, February of 2020.
right. Right,
So-
exactly.
Well,
Eh.
well, for ladies, I gotta ask of this question of you guys. Do companies? I'm just going to put this as a generalization here. Do companies truly want to evolve, or do they want to stay where they're at?
Personally, I think they do want to evolve. I
You would
think
hope so.
at least your good companies want to evolve, because you're always trying to evolve through continuous improvement. And the problem, I think, is this has to do with a change in how we work. And, I'll use an example here. I worked for a boss in one of my job positions, and their belief was that if you worked from home, you weren't working. So the reason for that, I come to find out through discussions with her, is that when she worked from home, she didn't get a lot done because she was preoccupied by other things that would come up. So in her view, because she didn't get work done, in her view, no one, when you worked from home, you weren't getting your job done. You weren't able to get your job done. So until that mindset changes, and, I think that everyone has different experiences, and depending on how people structure it. So if I'm home and I'm just sitting there watching TV, unless I get a call, that's different than if I say, this is my schedule. My work hours are the same as they would be basically in the office, or maybe they're a little different, but they're saying a lot of people that work from home are putting in way more hours than they would in the office. And so that can be good and that can be bad. And so I can see how, if we allow our people to structure it so that it works for them, doesn't matter if I get my job done from 6 to 9, or parts of my job from 6 to 9 p.m. Some of it I do between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., but then I do another group of it at the, so I think it's okay, unless you have to answer a phone or be tied to a certain schedule, that it's okay to do it when it works best for you at home, as long as you're getting your job done. Like Carla was saying earlier, it's important that we get our jobs done. Does it really matter when, unless there's a certain deadline to meet, right? So
Right.
It all depends on the job, and it depends on the project or whatever it is. But as long as we're getting our work done, what's the harm in structuring it so that it meets the needs of the employee the best? in conjunction with what's best for the position. Obviously, there's that balance there. So I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, I
But
find it
some
interesting
people,
we were talking about how somebody was basically relating their experience to working from home and not getting everything done and not feeling productive because they had a lot of distractions, and making that somebody else's reality. That's like saying, well, Johnny's always goofing off at work, so I'm not going to let him work from home because he's going to goof off at work, and then so therefore nobody can work from home because they'll just goof off like Johnny does.
Mm-hmm. But that's what happens. I think, our own biases go into our decision making, unfortunately, if you're not conscious of why you're making that decision. And honestly, that was something that we had discussed, and I'd explain to her, well, I'm actually more productive at home because I don't have the interruptions. Not that I mind the interruptions. Obviously, I'm a people person and I don't mind people coming and talking to me. But when I'm at home, people aren't stopping by my desk and chatting, which usually starts with a work-related situation or work-related something. But then, it ends up being something not work-related because we're chatting and talking. And so I don't have that so much at home. So I was able to actually get more done.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually, like I said, I was able to do some ad hoc work from homes with my manager's approval after discussing with her over and over about different things, and her opening up to the idea that, yeah, maybe you could do it and I can, it's okay, that's okay. And so I was able to do some ad hoc type work from, I needed to be home for the cable person. So I worked from home that day. And over time, she was able to see that things were getting done, and it wasn't one of those situations. But I can also see certain situations when you have younger kids at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your interruptions are going to be greater. So if you don't structure it like you're actually working and you don't set up someone to be there to watch your kids, or you don't have certain things planned so they're busy, again, it depends on the age of the kids too, where certain ages you're not going to be able to do some of those things. So I get that. And so those are things that companies have had to work through in this pandemic. And so over time, I mean, what they said, that people will work from home for 18 months roughly. Now people are starting to go back to work, and so it worked in the past, so why not keep that momentum going and keep and build upon it? Now it's not a must, but now it is a positive way to show your employees that, hey, I trust you and believe that you're going to, get the job done. And honestly, I think that's why a lot of people are leaving the more typical brick and mortar jobs, because they want to work from home. More and more people want the flexibility. They said there's a ton of people that are opening their own businesses and things like that because they want the flexibility to be able to structure their days and have more flexibility in how and when they work.
Yeah.
So that just shows you, and it should be an eye-opener for companies. I did find it interesting that they said like 41% of the employers feel like none of their employees are going to quit. They're talking about the Great Recession. And so one of the surveys done, I think it was I'm not sure if it was done by Google, and it might have been in that video. But anyways, they said 41% of the employers don't believe that people are going to quit, which is interesting.
Wow.
That they don't believe it. That's a lot.
That is. And see, I like what you said there earlier there, Lisa, about structure. We all, as people, have to have some sort of structure in our lives. But also, we have to have the wherewithal and the intentionality that we are going to do what we say we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, falls upon me. So if I don't do my part, and Carla calls me on the phone and say, Chris, you're supposed to do this thing, proposal for this client and everything like that. Why didn't you get it done? Oh, I had this going on and this got going on. Well, did you structure your day? Kind of, sort of, and that kind of thing. And she's like, no, we need that proposal done X amount of time. Quick, you got to finish it up and everything. And to me, structure is basically the bedrock of our foundation of our working lives, or basically our everyday lives. Without that foundation, we just go willy nilly wherever, and who wants to live it like that?
I think that goes back to your work ethic.
That too.
That you have a job to do. You know what your job's going to be. That's maturity, and you get it done, and that you don't need to be supervised.
Right. Well, I think the discipline it takes to work from home or get a degree from home or whatever the case, if it's based on your own individual drive to get it done, in a sense, I think for some people it's easy. For other people, it's not as easy, but it can be learned if they want to learn it.
Yes.
It's like my son said to me, well, I don't want to go to school online. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, it's just not me. And I said, well, it might not be you now, but if you really want to go to school, you can train yourself to do it online. You can teach yourself between this time and this time every day, or whatever days you set up. It's setting up your own structure and your own discipline to do it during the time you say you're going to do it. And so it can be learned. You might like it. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, unless we're willing to make the changes, we're not going to. So we have to want to, and we have to tell ourselves, maybe it's setting up a calendar on your phone or whatever on your computer, or writing it down in a calendar if you want to go old school.
Yeah.
Which, it's whatever works for you. But if you need to structure yourself and stick to it, and it might take practice, you might fail, but you got to keep at it and keep trying. And that's just the way we are in general. And if it's something you really want to do, you will do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I did it when I was in school. When I went back to school, got my RN to BSN, I did it online, and I did my master's online. And it takes commitment to know that you've got X, Y, and Z to do. And and even to this day, having my own business, I block schedule.
Sure.
I know that my routine, I have my routine. I have my routine in the morning, and I have these different things, and I have this. At noon I take the dogs out, and then I do this, and I do this, and we have our calls scheduled. And
Exactly.
that's the way my day is set up.
Exactly. And you have to do that. Otherwise, things won't necessarily get done or whatever. I mean, obviously there's times when you have to change things around a little bit, but
sure. Or move things to the next day because what you were doing took longer than what you expected, but that's okay.
Right. Exactly.
You just don't blow it off as a commitment you're not going to do. You just move it to the next day, or you do it in the evening. If you say, hey, I have an hour, I'm going to sit down and finish this project, and you just do it. And you just get it, because sometimes, you might plan to do it at 1:00 in the afternoon, but then there's too many distractions or whatever. And you might find that it's easier to do at 7:00 in the evening,
Exactly.
So you just figure out, it's not going to be perfect.
Right.
It's going to be messy. A lot of people, they want to be able to have this schedule that they can set up their whole work from home routine and have a schedule set. And it doesn't always work out. You've got to play around with it and figure out what works well for you to where you can get things done.
Right. And what works for whatever you're doing at that moment, or, if you have to take calls from customers at this time, because that's when most people are calling or whatever. There's always times when you have to adjust your things you set up to work the best. And that's okay too, as long as you stick to what you're doing and get your stuff done. I mean, that's the same with working from home or remote work, is setting up that structure and, having a plan and sticking to the plan.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people, and I've read this before, that there are a lot of people when they first started working from home, they had so much stress because they found that they weren't taking breaks. That
Right.
they were thinking, oh,
Well,
I'm working from home, I'm supposed to be working, and next thing they know, they were blowing through lunch and not getting lunch and wondering why they were so stressed. And it was like, okay, you need to plan breaks, you need to plan lunch just like you would in the office.
Right. I think for me, it was more of the inability to disconnect from the work because you were now home and everyone knew how to get it. You know, obviously you had your phone and people forgot that there was office hours that you had, you know, and so obviously with a 3-shift operation that we had, it was difficult to do anyways, but
yeah,
our employees originally they weren't working for a couple of months, but people were calling you know, at all times of the night and day. And it was like, you know, who calls people at 3 in the morning? Who does that?
Rolling for
Not me.
Well, it was a 3rd-shift employee that's normally up at that time, but you know, they were calling about their unemployment or whatever it was. But because I had my desk phone transferred to my cell phone, now that phone was ringing whenever someone decided to call. And instead of, you know, when I worked in the office, I could just let them take a voicemail, you know, at the office and I'd go get my messages every day when I was there. But now that I'm working from home, I have this phone transferred to my cell phone. I ended up having to learn to turn that off or, you know, set it to vibrate or mute or whatever and let them just leave a message. And I'd call them back later in the morning because I was being, you know, woke up when these calls came in. It's like, no, I have to turn this off. So it was, and that's some of it, I think, people not having that disconnect anymore because it's all now coming directly at home or remote. But that was an adjustment that didn't take long.
Right. Well, I can tell you one big person that I know that really is not a big break person, and she should be. It's my wife. She will literally work through the shift to get things done. And I tell her, you got to take your breaks. You got to be able just to let it go. But she is so headstrong because that pharmacy she really believes in her mind that pharmacy ain't going to run without her. You know, she just knows it. But I guarantee you, though, if she was to work from home, I know that dynamic would be totally different. Because she's not confined by those 4 walls. She's not confined by all those people. She can still get the scripts done. She gets if they have to give her the need accounts, she can transfer them, transmit them, and everything, send them over. That'd be easy to do for her. She can do a lot of stuff from home. I guarantee she could.
And I think more positions could be done from home if they wanted to really sit down and think about, you know, how, or, you know, the structure of it and what could be done. But so many people, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that want to be at work with others and things like that. So some of that's just the need to be around other people. And that's why I like the hybrid model, because in a position like HR, you know, you want to, in most HR positions, you want to be around the people. That's how you connect. I mean, I think people connect better when they're together. But I think that the hybrid model works the best for some positions. And obviously there's some positions like manufacturing or whatever that can't be done.
Yeah.
Or restaurants.
Or
restaurants.
Healthcare.
Admin stuff
A lot
for
of
restaurants
healthcare.
and businesses can be done, but the actual physical labor, there'd be no way you could do that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, unless we go to everything 3D printed, that would be the only thing that you could do. And from that dynamic is everything would be 3D printed. There's some things you can do 3D printing, but then how many people are wanting to say, I want to start my own business in 3D printing? There might be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, those 3D printers are pretty cool.
They are.
I've never seen one in action.
Oh my gosh, it's pretty awesome.
Oh, really? I'll have
Um,
to do a Google search for that.
yeah, you should. They're
Do it
pretty
right
cool.
here. Do it right here, live on the live stream. Just get it done.
I know.
How long does it take to make a 3D printer?
Technology is pretty amazing. The things they can do in technology and things like that with, like I said, with 3D printing, you can literally just, you could take a picture of a glass and, it could basically build a glass. Yeah,
Wow.
pretty cool. From what I've seen, obviously, I haven't seen a ton of it, but from what I've seen, it looks pretty awesome.
When I think of 3D printing, I think of those things you see on social media for teeth alignment.
They have done them.
Huh?
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure
I'm
they've done
sure.
that for.
Oh yeah. I mean they I don't know how they would do it, but there's companies that we can align your teeth by a picture, and I'm like, okay,
Really? Wow.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that techie. I'm pushing it.
Oh. So for you, Carla, in the healthcare field, do you believe nursing can have that hybrid model?
Well, the thing about nursing is there's so many different facets of nursing. There's bedside nursing, and you can't really replace that by a hybrid model.
Right.
But in the last job I had, well, 2 jobs ago, in fertility, when I was dealing with new patients and clients and setting up cycles and talking to them about organizing their testing and things like that, I was literally in front of a computer all day long. I mean, if you had a medical assistant that could run the 2 rooms that we had and take care of the physician if they had procedures to do, there would be no need for us to be in the office. And that played out when COVID hit, and they were not seeing any new patients. They weren't doing any procedures or anything. They were just basically finishing up with the people that were in cycle already. And all that communication and the daily callbacks and all that kind of stuff, that was all done remotely.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, I look at that in terms of the nurses would probably be happy to do that from home. And even do a video call with somebody. It was better than what we were doing before. Have a video face-to-face call with somebody and set things up for them and set up appointments for them and do their teaching with them and doing everything remotely. And then if they had to come into the office, they could see the physician. You'd have less staff in the office, which would turn around and be less office space that you needed, which would be financially better for the company. The company would be more profitable because they didn't have all that overhead.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's a way that you could still do that and still keep the great customer service.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your view when it comes to telemedicine? Because that's been big now for the past 2 or 3 years now.
Well, it really took a big kick when COVID happened, because even though we had telemedicine for years, the insurance companies would not pay for phone consults that a physician did.
Wow.
So, if somebody wanted to come in and meet with one of our physicians and literally sit across the desk from them, there was no exam involved or anything like that. It was just sitting face to face at a desk talking about treatment options or the last fertility cycle or whatever. Insurance would not pay for a phone consult. So they'd have to come into the office to physically be in the office. And sadly, that was mainly because there was so much fraud involved.
Mm-hmm. And even still, some don't cover
in the industry. So they'd have to physically come into the office. Well, once COVID hit, they realized that they couldn't live without telemedicine. And in some respects, you can still function okay with telemedicine, but sometimes you really need the touch and the feel and the exam component of it. So it's not 100%.
Right.
But it was nice to see that insurances started to cover that more and more, because they knew that they could be trusted with that.
Mm-hmm. And some picked it up, I think, during COVID, but let it, and basically towards the end of the year stopped covering those phone consults again. So,
So
well, I'm an old school kind of guy, so if I want to go see the doctor, I want to be able to go see him. But then again, I can actually, what's so good too is if I do something that, if I have something that's not of like an urgent thing, to have that availability, again, it's about options. Having that option to say, hey, I like to be able to talk to Carla and say, hey, I had this thing. What would you suggest I do? And get that information right there. And it'll be a whole lot easier versus having to go in and then waste that gas, waste that money, and all that.
Well, I mean, you have a sore throat, you got swollen lymph nodes in your neck. You can't feel those through telemedicine. You can't even look into somebody's mouth really and see anything unless you tell them, hey, you got a flashlight, or take the light on your phone and shine it into your mouth. You can't see anything. So those kind of things, you've got to go in for those kind of things,
Yeah.
If it's just talking about symptoms you have, there's no exam involved, then yes, you could do telemedicine.
Right.
I know counselors, psychologists that have been doing virtual conferencing, and they're still doing virtual conferencing. Because
our great friend Tiffany Warner is a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to find out from her. So we need to get her on. I would love to hear that, to see how she actually does patients. I mean, does she do a lot of it via teleconferencing, or does she actually have people come into her office and actually have those kind of engagements and see how that
for her being able to do a virtual conference with somebody saved her practice.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
It's just like personal trainers that adopted going virtual. That saved them, because people were going to gyms. Even now, there are people that are like, they don't go to the gym. There are people that haven't come back to my church.
Yeah, they're still doing around here. They're still doing church sessions in their cars.
Oh,
so
really?
Are you kidding me?
Well,
there's someone outside speaking, the pastor or whatever, and then people are in their vehicles listening to the sermon or the.
It's like a movie theater. Yeah, yeah. We were virtual long before COVID. We would have our services on was live, and then they were uploaded to YouTube. And so then when we went virtual, we didn't miss a beat, because we were already there. And then they actually went, when things started to open up, they started with my church is 12 Stone. They call it 12 Stone Home. And people have really created small groups. And so now those small groups have grown, and they'll get together in smaller groups with friends and family and things like that, rather than coming back to church. But there's still a lot of people that are coming back to church.
Yeah, I could see that. But we actually drove by and seen cars parked, and there was a guy speaking, and it must have been the pastor. But I thought that was interesting that was still going on.
Well, most people have satellite radios in their car, or I guess you could do it on a lower frequency or something. I'm sure they have the technology to do that, to where it's like going to a movie theater. Well, it used to be that I'm dating myself. When we used to go to the movie theater, you had the speaker that you hung on the side of your door,
Yeah.
Drive-in.
Drive-in.
Yeah. And then it got to where you tuned into a particular station.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the way the churches are doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
Must
hey,
be.
you learn how to improvise.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
As we say at our church, you can't stop community.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. That is true. And when it comes to the work at home community, I dare to say, ladies, they've spoken. They have said that this is the path we choose to take because it works good for us. And it may not work for all industries, but it is, again, an option. And to me, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big proponent about options. If we don't give people the option to do what they choose to do, not for us, again, what we tell them to do, then, like I said, it creates that environment that they can say, hey, I could go into the office, work 2 days a week, work 2 days at home, and I can kind of do a split on my last day. So if I want to go in one day, I can. If not, I'll stay home. So you do it that way. You give people the option. And to me, options is the best opportunity to grow.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And it can
You have the
benefit
power.
companies.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Go ahead. No,
No,
go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say that remote work can benefit companies in a lot of ways in that, now you can recruit from not just your general area, you can
Mhm.
recruit and not have to pay relocation fees to anywhere in the world. And so how can that not benefit a company?
Yeah.
That is
That's
a huge
true.
benefit.
Yeah.
And why pay all the monies to relocate someone or whatever when they can work from home? And if they have to fly somewhere to meet with a customer or whatever, that might be different or whatever, but depending on the type of business. But in most cases, jobs can be done without ever having to go into the office. And so
Right.
why not? And like I said, your recruiting options just open up worldwide.
Well, I work with so many people all over the country, and every
Mhm.
Monday we meet at noontime, and we have a meeting from 30 to 45, sometimes an hour, and I don't feel like I'm really missing out on anything, and I certainly get community.
Mhm.
There is a way
Mhm.
to do it,
Hmm.
Oh, I
and
agree.
yeah, but I think that you have to have the maturity to do it. And in some respects, I think you do need to earn it in the way you show up, in the way
Right.
you take responsibility for the opportunity that you are given, and
Mhm.
getting your work done and saying, hey, I've got this done or that done, and does anybody need a hand with anything, or can I help in any other way, or hey, I got my project done. Can I have something else to do?
Mhm. Exactly.
Prove your worth. And I think you need to do that whether you're working remotely or you're in the office. You're not there to warm a chair to pick up a paycheck. You're providing a service for them. And in return, they're
Exactly.
paying you for it.
Exactly.
So you
Exactly.
need to be mature enough to show up. And I think that would be my call to action, Chris.
That's
Be
good,
mature
Carla.
in how you present yourself at work and show up and do your job, to where if they say, well, you need to earn the opportunity to stay home, if they announce that to everybody, you're gravy, you're already there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. My call to action. Let's see. It's going to be hard to top that one, Carla. Let's see. My call to action is just have the self-discipline and the wherewithal to drive home, having those options, to have those options. Kind of piggybacked on you, Carla. Sorry.
It's a privilege to have that option.
It is. It is. And I think the more people do it, the more they're going to find it works not just for individuals, but it benefits the employer too
Mm-hmm.
in so many ways. But I think the biggest thing is it gives that employee or the team member that feeling of, hey, this is a partnership,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm
I'd
not
rather
just
go into
a
the office because I want to, not because I necessarily am forced to do
Mhm.
it. I would
Right.
okay, yeah. Hey, let's all plan on meeting on Thursdays at the office. We'll get our work done and we'll go out to lunch, or,
Right.
make
Ex-
it fun,
Right.
Exactly. And honestly, if a company had most of their or all of their employees working from home, they wouldn't have to pay the overhead to have a building and all the stuff that goes involved. How much? And that's just more profit for the company
Yeah.
Right.
that they
But
can
but
share
but
with their employees or whatever, that they can use to benefit the company as well as the employees. So why not?
Mhm. It's a
right.
win-win all the way around.
It is a win-win.
Well, for me, ladies, I'll say it again, and I've said it a few times already in the conversation today. My call to action is to simply give people the option to do what they want to do. Give them the path. Show them the path. Don't demand it. Don't kind of macromanage it. Just let it be and say, hey, this is for you. And again,
Hmm.
like what you said before, Carla, if you show up and you're responsible and you have the structure, this is what you're going to do, and you say you're going to do it and you follow through with it, then that's going to be, you'll be like you're already there.
You
It's
don't have
there
to
for
worry
you.
about it. It's no big deal.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Absolutely. So, boy, you two are just a phenomenal people. I mean, with that other article that you did about the 24 businesses that are focused on humanity, I think this could be another way that businesses can focus on humanity as well.
Hmm.
There'd be more companies than just the 24 businesses and some of these people we never even heard of. But I think this would be a great way to do that too.
Yeah, definitely.
So, as always, ladies, I greatly appreciate you so much. Sandy, we miss you. Graham, we miss you. Ryan, we miss you. We got,
Is Graham on? No, that's okay. I thought I missed him.
yeah.
Mhm.
He's got to jump
So,
on a call.
yeah. So, but like I said, we're just so thankful and honored that everyone's involved in this, and you guys are just so wealth of knowledge, and I just can't thank you guys enough, and I greatly appreciate you guys for this conversation today because I agree. I think work to home is going to be here to stay, and it's going to be an option for people. I really do.
Yes, I do too.
Alrighty. So you guys have a great and wonderful day.
You too.
We'll be seeing you tomorrow for Conversation for Humanity, another great and engaging conversation. And again, Sandy, we'll be thinking about you today. Hopefully everything goes well with you and your daughter, and we'll
Hmm.
be thinking about you. All right, everyone, have a great and terrific Tuesday.
Bye
Make it
bye.
your day, and have a great day.
Bye,
You
everyone.
too.